Are we rolling?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna do some dumb, I guess, trick shots today, and we're gonna use the most official setup in the world, and we're gonna use soccer balls and a kid's basketball goal. That's what we're gonna do today. So me and Ed are gonna do some trick shots, and then you will be the judge in the comments of who sucks worse and is badder at shooting some shots. So let's do some shots. Buckets! Buckets!
That one went in. The other one didn't.
Alright, my attempt to make a trick shot. So we're using a soccer ball. Try to kick it in.
Ooh.
Hey, bro. What's that? Trick shot? What's that YouTube called? Trick shot?
Dude perfect.
Dude perfect.
Yeah.
Hit me up, you know what I'm saying? Here we go. Ready?
Ah!
Oh.
Doing too much. Close eyes. Close eyes. Ooh!
Oh, I got it, but I didn't even get it on camera.
Let's go.
Alright, we're going for a long shot this time. We're going from all the way from West Africa off to the Canada. Alright, you guys ready? Okay. Oh, look at that.
Missed it completely.
We didn't, shut up. Okay, we're gonna do a rapid fire round. I'm gonna keep shooting and scoot back until I miss a shot and see how far I can get. Alright, let's go.
Alright.
Look at that, perfect. Wait, I'm just gonna, let's
Okay.
go. 2. Alright, another tile.
Oh!
Dang it!
All you did was make 2.
Shut up, he sucks, he sucks.
Same thing. I bet you I could probably make it all the way to the drum set over there.
Do it.
See. Hopefully.
Okay.
1. I'll use this ball right now. Step back.
2. Can he beat my record?
3.
Oh, how much talk that was!
As soon as I let
Check it, all the way over here.
Missed it completely.
That sucked way worse. That was so weird.
I'll give you one more opportunity to try to prove yourself. See how good you are.
Oh, no! Yeah, from right there.
Ready?
Alright.
Man, I'm about to hit it. You ready? You recording?
Yep, let's go.
Alright. I'm about to hit a pelican shot.
Okay.
If you watch basketball recently, you know what I'm talking about. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Ooh. Big talk. Big talking.
Wait, give me one more shot.
Big talking.
Alright, ready?
Or not.
Alright. 3, 2, 1.
Oh!
One more shot. One more opportunity.
One more?
Give me 3. Give me one more. 3, 2, 1. Oh!
Hey! That was close!
Oh!
Hey! Okay, we're gonna wrap this up with a quick dunk contest. So, this is gonna be my dunk. I'm gonna under the leg and I'm gonna under the leg and dunk it and crush it. All right. Oh, let's go!
Cool,
Jump
man.
over the chair.
Oh.
Dunk that thing.
Oh.
Alright?
Oh.
Ready?
Come on, let's.
I'm not even gonna touch the chair. I'm gonna try to not touch the chair.
Alright.
Alright, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Oh, let's go.
Go!
Let's go.
End it.
Let's go.
End it.
Let's go. Ah, bro. That almost.
Hey, yo!
What is going on?
I can't say it like that guy on TikTok.
Hey, yo.
Hey, yo!
There you go.
Byron.
Byron. Dude blew up
So-
in a matter of seconds.
Right. So, what's up? Welcome
is going on,
to
youth?
the Youth, not podcast, but
Podcast.
it looks like a podcast
It
and
is,
it
it does.
sounds like a podcast
Hey,
and
man,
it has
maybe.
podcast equipment.
That might be something in the future.
Which,
you
by the
know?
way, courtesy of CM Fearless.
Golf claps.
Yes, golf claps.
Thank you,
In the
guys,
chat for Fearless.
this amazing equipment.
Yeah, shout out to Fearless.
Yep.
So today we are, which by the way, we just got done doing some epic dunks and trick
Bro,
shots.
My dunk has to go on top dunks of all time. I jumped over a chair. Tell me
Better
who can do
than
that.
LeBron James
Come on,
over
man,
here.
bro. Better than anybody. Come
We
on.
got LeBron James version 2 right here.
2.0.
So we are not 1 week, but a few days away from Christmas,
Ooh.
and this is actually the first week of Youth Online for the next
Dang.
couple weeks. So we are doing just Youth Online for the next few weeks, which most like 80% of the reason why is because, well, part of it's like the holiday season. You got a whole lot going on, but then also to give you parents a break. So any parents that are watching, thank you so much for bringing your kids each and every week to Youth.
You guys are the true MVPs.
Because literally CM Youth and like 90% of its existence would not exist without parents like you that
Exactly.
bring your kids. So
Yep.
thank you, parents, for bringing your kids
Big thumbs
and all that sort of stuff and letting us like fill them with pizza rolls every single week and stuff.
Pizza rolls.
So this is going to be kind of a standalone week. We're just going to talk about some Christmas stuff because next week we're going to start a new collection that you'll just have to wait and see next week.
Bro, come back. You got to come back to it.
You got to come back.
You know,
and
go ahead and
we'll
subscribe.
see.
Put your post
Gotta
notifications
subscribe.
on.
Smash the like button.
Smash the like button.
Share it with your friends
Comment,
on your Instagram,
like,
on
everything,
your
man.
Snapchat, on your TikTok. Share it everywhere, and
Don't forget to follow,
subscribe, and follow, and like,
Everything.
and everything,
The whole
and
nine.
comment,
The whole
all
nine.
of that stuff, and put an RSS feed. I don't think any of you guys have
I don't
any
think-
idea what an RSS feed. I don't even know what that was. I
Oh
never
my
did an
gosh.
RSS feed. But anyways,
Me either.
so this is going to be a standalone week of Christmassy stuff, and what we're going to be talking about is actually kind of a re-bringing back the idea from last year's Christmas talking collection, which
Ooh.
was the promise. So we're going to be talking about that for this week, and then we'll jump into a new collection next week. So,
Nice.
We'll start off with a question for you, Eduardo.
Okay.
So, in the Christmas season, in the Christmas time, do you ever find yourself re-asking the question, why do we make Christmas such a big deal?
Most certainly. And I'll tell you
Okay.
why. Because I feel like during the Christmas season, we got all these things going on, activities like, Christmas tree. We got to get a Christmas tree. We listen to Christmas music on the radio. We got decorations. We got to get gifts for our loved ones and stuff like this and all that. So we tend to forget what the true meaning of Christmas is, and that's because Jesus Christ was born on December. Christmas,
Was he?
yeah, Christmas.
Was
So-
Jesus actually born on December 21st?
So 25th or 21st?
Or 25th.
The 25th? I don't know. Like, that's the thing. People say that like, I've done research where it says not exactly on the 25th, but it's around that same area type
really?
of thing. Yeah.
I've always heard it was actually more like in springtime.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Like that was October.
Hey, bro, that's
But
a good
anyways,
question.
That's another topic for another
That's
day.
another topic for another day. We're going into a rabbit hole. But anyways, yes, like we tend to forget what the true meaning of Christmas is, and that's because Jesus Christ was born. So, you know, we tend to just go about our business, go about our life, and just do what we got to do, and we forget sometimes. So, yeah, I could fall in that category.
Okay. So the big kind of thing we're doing with this collection is because sometimes it's really easy to forget this idea of why on earth do we make Christmas such a big deal. And the big reason why, and you might be able to guess it if you're good with your deductive logic, is because of promises. So there are promises throughout the Bible, and there's some specific promises that is why Christmas is really such a big deal to us as Christians.
Ooh.
Promises.
Promises.
Oh, yeah.
I love promises.
Do you?
I like when people promise me things and they come through. you
Yeah.
know?
Under promise and over deliver.
Yeah.
That's a leadership lesson for
Exactly.
you guys. Welcome to the Leadership Podcast.
Yep.
Yeah, I know we were talking a little bit earlier, and you were saying that you had some.
Yeah, like I'm gonna go ahead and speak about it. This is my little small testimony. It's not gonna take too long to say about it. But earlier this year, honestly, man, it's been a kind of like a tough year for me, honestly, mentally, because earlier this year I was through a financial struggle, and then pushing to forward later this year, we received news that my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. So it was really tough for me mentally, man. Like there were moments where I felt like I just wanted to give up, but I didn't. Why? Because of God's promises, and I'll tell you what promise it is. And now, if I can go ahead and just go into the Bible, go into Scripture, and go to Joshua 1:9, which was one of the Bible verses that my mom actually went ahead and she went ahead and let me see if I could go ahead. She actually was the one that told me about it because. I don't want to do this. Okay, so Joshua 1:9 says, "This is my command: be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." I remember the first time when my mom told us that she was diagnosed with like breast cancer. She texted us like all in a group, and she was like, "Can I talk to you guys? It's very important." So I called her, and she told me, and like obviously over the phone, I heard her crying, and she told me, "Just don't be discouraged, little son. Like keep faith. Know that God is gonna push through this entire situation. He's gonna help me, and is gonna help y'all bring peace and everything. Like we're gonna get through this, you know." So it's amazing to know that my mom has that faith and stuff, and she told me just make sure you have faith. Like make sure you keep that, like, you know, listen to his, like, pay attention to his promises, and make sure you keep his promises in your heart. And I couldn't stop. Like I had to keep that in my mind, because I didn't want to like let my mom down. Obviously, you know, she told me keep having faith and keep, you know, be encouraging, and don't be discouraged of the situation. We're gonna get through it. So it was a tough year for me in that aspect and stuff. So I just kept, you know, going back to what my mom said, and just going into more scriptures and reading more of like what his promises do to us. And there was one other Bible verse that I really I loved, which was in John 16:33. It's something that I really love, and it's been helping me through this tough time. Which it says, let me see, I can scroll down. I'm sorry about this, guys. It says, "I have told you all this so that you may have peace in me. Here on earth you will have many trials and sorrows, but take heart, because I have overcome the world." And that is something that has always been in my heart ever since the beginning of the year, like when I told you the financial struggles, and even through the situation with my mom. So it's his promises that have kept me pushing forward and realizing that I need to have faith in this situation, in my life, and then through, you know, his promises. So
Yeah. That's cool. That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think what's really cool is, like, because speaking of promises is like, so we asked this question of like, okay, why is Christmas such a big deal? And it's a huge deal because of promises. And I think what makes it a big deal with this promise, and obviously the promise being Jesus, is because like so I guess in a sense, it's like you look at the Bible and there's all sorts of different promises. You know, there's promises God says, "I promise to protect you. I promise to be faithful. I promise to forgive you. I promise to love you. I promise to be gracious to you. I promise to be merciful to you." And in some ways, like if you look at it objectively, there's some promises that are like, it's really easy to say like, "Oh, I promise to be loving," or whatever. And it's like, okay, you know, I believe that, but it's like, there's sort of like a lack of real physical, tangible evidence to that, if that makes sense. Like it's really easy for me to say like, "Oh, I promise to forgive you." But I mean, what's
you
the
may
proof?
not feel it. You
like,
know, what's the proof of it? You don't
like,
feel it.
Where's the proof? The proof is in the pudding. Okay,
exactly.
So it's like, where's the proof necessarily in that? And so, why Jesus actually coming to this planet and being a physical human and all the sorts of things that he did, why that was such a big deal was because there is all sorts of promises throughout the Bible, which in fact we're actually going to look at some of those next week with our collections. So just a little bit of like, okay,
come back.
There's all sorts of promises throughout the Bible about Jesus, in things like things he would say, things he would do, things that Jesus would look like, where he would be born, how he would be born, all sorts of different promises. And what makes the promise such a big deal is that if Jesus would have not came and not fulfilled those promises, it kind of throws a big wrench into like, okay, well, how can I believe if God's forgiving? How can I believe if God's loving? Like, can I really believe that he's gracious? Because, and especially because it's found in Numbers, and I think it's Numbers chapter 9. You'd have to re-look it up. But God kind of strong-arms himself in saying, "I will never fail you on a promise." Like, God's basically like, "I will make a promise to you and I will keep it no matter what. You can bank on it." So God strong arms himself, puts himself in a RKO, like a headlock, and he's like, "I will never go back on a promise." So if there's ever an instance where God's like, "Okay, I promise to send my son to die on a cross this specific way," and if he doesn't do it, then you can effectively throw out every other promise that he's made. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so why Jesus coming to this planet and doing what he did, why it was such a big deal, was because in a sense it proves every other promise that God would make. Now, granted, there are some promises in the Old Testament, like the Promised Land. The Israelites ended up going to the Promised Land, but I think there's a little bit more of a tangibility because of the specificity. There's a nice word for you guys.
Specificity.
Because of how specific those different promises were about Jesus, like he would not be good looking, Jesus would he would be hung on a tree, basically. Like, so there's really specific things like where he would be born, those sorts of things. And it's because of those specific things that Jesus ended up fulfilling that kind of then proves all of the other promises. So you can bank on God's going to protect you. You can bank on God's going to forgive you. You can bank on God's going to love you unconditionally. You can bank on like God's gracious and sort of thing like that. And so that's what's really cool about this idea of like the promise is just that the promise that Jesus made, or the promise that God made about Jesus, because that came true, it's like now I can know for a fact if Jesus says, hey, I promise to do X, Y, and Z, he's gonna do it.
He's gonna do it.
You know what I mean? Like he's gonna do it
because he sent his only son to die on the cross for our sins.
Yeah.
So that was like the promise of the promises, like because he did that. Oh, we can like honestly say, all his promises are gonna be fulfilled.
Yeah, it's sort of like the ultimate promise that if that one specifically did not come true,
then we would be like, are the promises real?
And what's funny too is I forget what scripture, because it's just coming to my mind. It's somewhere, Paul says it somewhere in the New Testament. He says that if Jesus really didn't do what he said he was going to do and really wasn't who he said he was, Christians of all people should be counted as the dumbest of people. Because like, why would we believe some random dude from the Middle East 2,000 years ago? Like, we would be dumb for believing that if Jesus really didn't do those things. But because he did, which we'll find out a little bit more of like some like proof of that next week and then the week after that. So that's another little plug. Come back and hang out.
Nice.
So
you don't want to miss it. You want to be here next week.
You don't want to miss it. Maybe I can see my friends over here.
So you say there's so many promises in the Bible, and I want to go ahead and ask you a couple questions, just like two little questions about the promises. And one of the questions is, what is one of your favorite promises in the Bible that God, speaks of? Like where God, you can go ahead and be like, okay, like this has been fulfilling in my life, kind of.
So like ones I've seen, or one that I just
one
like?
is that you just like.
So I think probably that God promises to forgive us because like your boy's got issues. Your boy's got issues, man. And you got them too.
Yeah, bro, we all got them.
Who wrote that song? I forget who it is. I don't know. It's a song. Anyways, I
had to do my research after this.
It's a TikTok song. I don't know how it goes. I can't really sing that great. So, okay. But anyways, but I think it's the forgiveness one because like it's such a big deal. Like if you're not forgiven, then it's kind of like you're screwed. You know what I mean? But having the assurance that, okay, I can be forgiven. It's like, let's go.
I like that.
Let's go.
You like the assurance of being, not saying assurance of getting taken care of, but the assurance of knowing that you'll be forgiven and you're going to go up to heaven. Yeah. So that's a good thing. And my second question to you is how have you seen God's promise be fulfilled in your life?
So I know there's like one specific instance that I know, I don't know that it's necessarily a promise, so to speak, but I remember back in January 2019, I think it was, I randomly lost my job just like on I don't know, I think it was like a Monday or Tuesday or something like that. And it was like, that was hard, like just randomly you just lose your job. So I remember it was like 6 months to the day by the time I got my next job, and it's actually the job I'm at now. So, but I remember like I was like praying like, God, I need like the perfect job. Like I don't care, because like to me I'm thinking like I could pray for specifics about like, God, I want this job at this company at this pay. So I was like, I want the best job, like the perfect job for me in my season. And lo and behold, like 6 months later, or maybe it was 5 months later, I forget, to the day was I found a job where my owner, it's like a small company, the owner, he's a pastor, actually a church down, they're closer to, it's All Nations Fellowship. He's one of the pastors there. And they're kind of more downtown area. And he's like an awesome boss and it's a great job and I love it and whatnot. And so I'm like, it was kind of like one of those really specific moments where it's like, okay, I know God's kind of like, okay, I got an ear to your prayers kind of thing. Like I hear you, and I was like, okay, like I got a good job.
I got
it was
you.
good.
I'm gonna take care of you.
Yeah, it was like a very specific, like I'm praying for this, and it came to be, and it was kind of like, okay, God's got me. It's all good.
That's good, man. That's good.
Yeah.
I actually, it's so funny that you speak of that, because I remember this exact same situation where in August of 2017, I was doing a missionary trip in back in my country, my home country, Guatemala. Guatemala. So we were doing a missionary trip over there, like helping the orphanage, stuff and everything. And it's so funny to me because at that time I was working at the refinery, but at that time I was working for a certain company, and we had just lost our contract. We had just lost our contract, and everybody was trying to call me at the time over there, which I wasn't really getting reception or anything. But everyone was trying to call me and let me know, hey, you just lost your job type of thing.
Oh, man.
So, you know what's funny about that same situation? At that moment, I wasn't worried about it.
Oh, really?
I was not worried about it. I was worried more about trying to take care of those kids and trying to fulfill what God's plan was for me at that time. That I knew He was some way, somehow, I just knew it, that He was gonna help me out. I see you're serving me faithfully. I got you. Don't worry about it. I got you. And then, lo and behold, boom, I come back and I still have a job at the refinery. So it was we just switched companies pretty much. Yeah. But everybody that was with the old company switched over to the new company, and I was still allowed to be working there.
Oh, that's cool.
So that was the great thing about it. And I was like, it's so funny to me when you're talking about that. I was like, bro, that's the same thing that happened to me back in 2017, where I was doing a missionary trip, and lo and behold, I lost my job. Well, not really lost my job, but I wasn't, scared that I was going to lose my job. But at the time, I wasn't worried. So I just let, fulfill what God's promise was. And at the time, God's plan for me was to, show love to those orphanage kids. Yeah. And show awesome. God. And so.
Sweet.
That's awesome, man.
Sweet. So that is the promise. So just remember, the big key takeaway here is that there's a whole bunch of promises that God makes, and all of them are just whatever, who cares, nobody cares about them. If Jesus had not really come to this planet and did what He did, if Jesus hadn't done that, then every single promise that God ever made is just like, oh, I promise to give you $1 billion tomorrow. Yeah. Like, no, you're not.
Man, my Xbox Series X is waiting for me.
Like, I promise to buy an Xbox tomorrow just for you, and I'm not going to, so do not bank on that.
But yeah, man, but honestly, giving away from this whole entire thing, just taking away from it, is if Jesus is the whole reason why His promises are so fulfilling. And I'm not saying exactly this, but Jesus died on a cross for us, for our sins, and now we know we can really bank on any promise that God has in the Bible for us.
Oh yeah. So what I'm going to do is, in this video, in the description, which you can go there right now, in the description, I'm going to post a couple links. So I found a couple web pages that did a really good job at just listing a whole bunch of promises that God makes, and then one of the links is just the promises, but the other link is going to show you the promise in the Bible verse of the promise, and then the Bible verse of it fulfilling that promise. So go check out that list. You'll find it's a long list, and that's not even the whole thing. So if we went through every single promise and every single fulfilled promise, it'd be a long list, and I don't think anybody's gonna read through that whole thing.
So over 1,000 promises in the Bible, and there's I
don't know, it may be 1,000. I don't know, but
so that's a long.
I know
list.
one of the lists is 50. I know that one of the lists is 50. Which still that's a list.
That's still a list. That's still a list. That's a good list.
So go check out that list, and thanks for hanging out with us for some Youth Online this week for right before Christmas. Have a Merry Christmas, and have a Happy New Year, and we'll see you guys, I guess, next Wednesday, which will be before New Year's.
So we'll say Happy New Year again.
we'll say
Happy New Year again.
Merry New Year's and Happy Christmas.
So don't forget, put your post notifications on, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and be back next week for an awesome episode.
All right, peace.